Welcome to the live stream presentation of the Frédéric Constant Monolithic Manufacture. Due to the global pandemic, it's a live stream, unfortunately not a big event with guests, but we're still all thrilled to show you something unprecedented. My name is Frank Gehlen and I'm the founder and editor-in-chief of Monochrome Watches. I've been following the watch industry very closely for the past 20 years and have not seen any innovation like what we're going to witness today. What we're really going to see is super unprecedented. Please allow me to introduce the people who will explain everything about the monolithic manufacture. First there's Niels Eggerding, the brand's managing director. There's Pim Koeslag, the brand's head of watchmaking and a technical director who is responsible for all the Frédéric Constant in-house calibers. And last but not least, there's Nima Toulou, founder and CEO of Flexis. He's one of the world's leading experts in compliant mechanisms. And what compliant mechanisms are and what they can mean for watchmaking is what we're going to find out and try to explain to you in the coming 30 minutes. After that, you can ask questions. But first, allow me to give the floor to Niels. Niels.
Thank you very much, Frank. Welcome. Thank you, Pim. Thank you, Nima, to be here from Amsterdam. So today we are going to do a world premiere. Very excited. We are going to do something what has been managing a watch, a mechanical watch, for more than 300 years. Before I'm going to tell you what we are going to do, I quickly bring you to the history of the brand. Peter and Leda Stas started the brand with a mission: let more people enjoy luxury. They did that with beautiful design watches, high quality, but with an accessible price. Soon they realized we have to differentiate even more. And there Peter decided to drive the brand strong by innovations. Innovations is key. And innovations differentiate you. That resulted in 2001 to start their own manufacture caliber. They did that because be independent, be creative, unlimited growth, and of course with continuing to have the accessible luxury strategy in mind. Now, how are you going to do that? To keep it accessible by collaborations. Collaborations is key. Peter decided in that time, in 2001 and 2002, to work together with École Horlogerie Genève, but also the Dutch watchmaking school. But more important, how are you going to make it accessible? By large-scale production, industrialization. By then, but still today, we are the only one who are capable in our price segment who's doing industrialization, manufacture calibers, and a large-scale production. Then in 2004, it resulted in the first in-house caliber, our Heartbeat Manufacture. And here you can see the beautiful piece. On 6 o'clock, the open heart, the guilloche finishing, and a Roman index. It became the signature of the brand. And now I'm going to bring you to more recent introductions and developments now. In 2015, by collaborations, we have been the first Swiss-made smartwatch. Introduction in 2015 was important. In 2016, we did the perpetual calendar, Manufacture. A Basel introduction in 2016. That year, we produced 1,200 units of the perpetual calendar. Followed by the flyback chronograph Manufacture, a very complicated movement. And finally, in 2018, you can see here the Tourbillon perpetual calendar. Haute Horlogerie. Average, we produce 150 to 175 pieces per year. Now, since 2004, we have been producing and developing 29 in-house calibers. It's very impressive for such a young watch brand. Now, this all the 29 calibers that we have been producing, but more important, 95% of the Swiss mechanical watches sold in Switzerland are based with this mechanism, the conventional assortment, the beating heart of a movement. Here you can see a 4 Hertz assortment with 8 movements by a second. So the second hand make 8 steps. That's why it goes smooth. Averagely, a 40-hour power reserve. The balance wheel makes a swing of 300 degrees and completely sensitive for magnetism. Now,
300 years of watchmaking, and today you're saying you're going to present something that's going to break the rules.
Yes, Frank. We are very thrilled and very excited that we are going to challenge 300 years of watchmaking and shaping the future. These 26 components that forms the assortment is going to be replaced after 3 years of development in a new conception by an oscillator, by a single piece oscillator. So I repeat, 26 components by one oscillator. Now let me bring you a little bit more into perspective how it looks. Pim later on will bring you much more technical know-how, but this shows you that 26 components, including the hairspring, the balance wheel and the anchor, is all replaced by a single oscillator. This all has been developed by our team and in collaboration with Flexsys. I'll come back to that later. A new movement is born, the FC810, and this is also the 30 in-house caliber. A complete new conception was made to apply the new oscillator. I'm going to bring you over an explosion of the movement to visualize a bit better. Now, you have seen already a little bit more, but here you see also the oscillator. The oscillator is very thin, 0.3 millimeter, and it's 9.8 millimeter wide, exactly made how we wanted it. But of course, we could not do this alone. And this is done together in collaboration with Flexsys. Flexsys is based in the incubator Yes Delft on the Technical University in Holland. And Flexsys came with the idea. In that time, in 2017, Peter and Leda Stas moved back to Holland, went to the incubator Yes Delft, and were introduced to the company Flexsys. And from that day, a collaboration started.
So that's where we got Nima to explain more about the compliant mechanisms, because this is actually a compliant mechanism. It's a flexible mechanism, and I'd love to hear Nima explain how it works. Nima, can you please explain it?
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Niels. Hello, everyone. So, we have developed a groundbreaking technology for mechanical watches. But before I further explain about that, let me tell you more about what are flexible mechanisms. We all know the origami birds. But what is so interesting about these systems? Once I move the tail, the wings start to flap. It transfers force and motion from the tail to the wing, while it is made from one piece of paper. No assembly, no joints, in one part. It moves because it deforms. It is extraordinarily simple, but quite complex, because it transfers force and motion together in one piece. And this is exactly what we do with flexible watch parts. We transfer force and motion in a single pieces in the watches. Our goal is to combine as many as moving parts into a single piece, this to set world boundaries for key performance criteria such as accuracy, runtime, and thickness. And therefore, we are very thrilled with Frederic Constant. When Frederic Constant asked us to do the impossible, our partner came up with a seemingly impossible mission. Frequently as high as possible, very low energy usage, all at very small scale. They wanted the speed of a Formula One engine with the size and fuel efficiency of a hybrid car. But that's what we do at Flexsys. We take up a challenge which appears impossible, and we make that possible. But before my colleague explains more about the technology and how that was achieved, let me tell you more which benefits in general flexible mechanisms can bring to the horology. Due to inherent nature of flexible mechanism, it is possible to combine the function of multiple parts into one. Just like the origami bird, we can make very complex watch system out of simply one part. For example, it is no longer needed to have hairspring, balance wheel, anchor, Inca block, all the axles and jewels as a separate components. And because there's no need for axles and jewels and bearings, the thickness can reduce substantially. To put it in perspective, the device can become as thin as a single hair. And because it is monolithic, the internal wear and friction are non-existent, and therefore it requires significantly less energy so that the watch can benefit from a longer runtime. And that is how we are able to do the impossible. High frequency, long runtime at a very small scale. At Flexus, our vision is to provide an improved alternative for every key component in a watch with our technology. We see ourselves how Intel is for the computers. Every computer has an Intel inside, but every computer is uniquely different, and Intel makes it specific for every computer as well. The project was a great puzzle, amazing idea, and a wonderful collaboration with Frédéric Constant. The trust and synergy we felt during this collaboration was incredible. We are so thrilled today to be able to see this moment of Flexus technology in a beautiful Frédéric Constant watch. Thank you.
Thank you, Nima, for the explanation. It makes it much more clear what compliant mechanisms or flexible mechanisms are and what they can do. But I'm also thrilled to see it in a Frédéric Constant watch. And therefore, I would like to ask Niels to come and show us the watch.
I'm very happy to do that. Thank you very much, Nima, for your explanation. Now, before we go to the watch that we are all thrilled to see, Frank, let me put on the screen a little bit still the comparison between the two, because we are going fast and I know it's a lot, but still, let's look at the advantages. Here again, conventional assortment, 4 Hertz, 8 movements by a second, so the second hand goes smooth already. The balance wheel makes a sweep, 300 degrees, average 40-hour power reserve, and completely sensitive for magnetism. Now, 300 years of a heartbeat of a mechanical movement, and now moving into the future. Our slimline monolithic manufacture, done by our watchmakers in collaboration with Flexus, is going to result in a 40 Hertz. So your second hand is not going to make 8 steps by a second, but 8T, 80. The movement doesn't make, or let's say the amplitude of the oscillator doesn't make 300 degrees, but the oscillator turns only 6 degrees. It has 80-hour power reserve and it's 100% anti-magnetic. And we prepared, together with our watchmakers and with Flexus, exactly on par with our accessible luxury strategy. Large-scale production, and that helps us to have an accessible price. Now, before I go to the watch, I will go to a short movie.
Time can be abstract, conflictual, sometimes an enemy, as well as a friend. It is a witness to our achievements and failures, to our greatness and darkness, incredibly precious, yet unforgiving. As watchmakers, we chase every second. We strive to encapsulate the essence and master the untouchable. We search for the precise equilibrium to conquer the art of simplicity, to get rid of the chains that stop freedom. We transform complex into minimal. Change the rules. Go faster. Have a new vision. Think of an evolution. maybe we will be crafting a revolution. The new slimline monolithic manufacture by Frédéric Constant.
And hereby we can introduce to you our latest addition to the family, the number 30 in-house caliber slimline monolithic manufacture, and here you can see it in a beautiful 18-karat gold case. Date on 12 o'clock, the open heart on 6 o'clock, exactly when you go back to all the historical pieces for the brand, and the guilloché finishing on the dial. Here you can see from close by a little bit better the bridge over the oscillator, and in total we will have 3 versions. Solid gold 18 karat, 2 stainless steel in a silver dial and a deep blue.
It looks beautiful, I have to say. I love that the classic design remains as Peter and Aletta Stas once created the Heartbeat manufacture. And now with this new technology, but now I'd love to know from Pim how that works together, that movement and that beautiful monolithic oscillator.
Sure. Let's invite Pim on the stage.
Yes.
Hi, Pim.
Hi.
So how did you integrate that novel technology with mechanical movement?
Yeah, well, actually, in late 2017, we were sitting around the table with Nima from Flexus, Peter and Aletta Stas, and myself, and we were discussing and determining the 4 specific features what this watch should have. And so if we go to the first one, it was necessary to have the highest possible frequency.
Why the highest possible frequency?
Maybe I can give you a very practical comparison. For example, if you go on your bicycle, and you go very, very fast, then small bumps in the road or you don't even feel. You can even let go of your steer and you still go straight. But if you go very, very slow, then you might fall. So that's exactly the same thing on your wrist. If the oscillator is moving very fast, then actually everything is much more stable and much more reliable.
That sounds very recognizable as a Dutch person, so thanks for that.
So the second thing that we wanted to put in this watch was a long power reserve, 80 hours to be exact. So the third thing is that we wanted to be true to our DNA of accessible luxury. And the last thing is that we wanted to create a real recognizable heartbeat design. So we had to create a small oscillator that would fit at the 6 o'clock position on the position of the balance wheel. So let me explain a little bit and compare the 4 Hertz movement, which we see on the left side. And on the right side, we see our movement with a new oscillator. You can see the red part is the power source, the main barrel with a spring inside. This one actually is exactly the same in both 4 Hertz and 40 Hertz version. But we have 80-hour power reserve because of the fact that our oscillator is very, very efficient.
Despite the incredible speed, you still manage that power reserve. That's
exactly
spectacular.
So the blue parts is the gear train. So you see there's a slight difference. Actually, we had to add some wheels and the ratio is different of the teeth because we had to speed up the whole gear train to keep up with this high speed of the oscillator. So, and the purple parts are the escapement, and then the green part is the oscillator.
This oscillator, of course, we know in a normal mechanical movement there's a spiral and a balance and there's an anchor interacting with one another. But how do they interact in this monolithic oscillator? Can you explain us that or maybe show us?
Sure, of course. So actually we have 3 major innovations inside this oscillator. The first one actually is the fact that the spiral is different. So here, for example, on the left side, you see the standard assortment has a hairspring in the form of a spiral. But on the right side, you can see our new oscillator, and you see it is replaced by 4 straight flexures. And this also, Niels told us already a little bit, this is actually moving. So the amplitude of our oscillator is moving 6 degrees in comparison with a regular or standard balance wheel, which is turning 300 degrees, more or less. This is one big difference, and very important because it's much more efficient. So the second major invention is the anchor system. So the anchor, or the lever, we can also say, the blue part on the left picture, is actually an assembly of 5 pieces, 5 different separate parts. And you can see in the right picture, our oscillator, everything is integrated. You see the blue pallets are totally in one layer, all integrated in the silicium. Here you can see a side view. On the left, the standard assortment. You can see there are many different layers and actually also many different friction points. And this is really non-existent in our new oscillator, which is shown on the right.
But how does it work? I see the little weights to regulate it?
Tuning masses, we call
Tuning masses?
Yes.
How does a watchmaker tune?
Yeah, this is our third major innovation. And actually, you can see here on the picture also that the watchmaker is fine-tuning the silicium component. And you can see here, those tuning masses actually, they replace the standard regulation system. So a regulation system in a standard assortment works like this. It actually, by friction, it will change the theoretical length of the hairspring. And actually, that we did completely different. We added weights on this oscillator, and actually by changing the weight, the position of the weight, we changed the moment of inertia. So if we push the weights to the outside, the oscillator will slow down. If we push the weights to the inside, actually the frequency will go up. And this is how our watchmakers regulate the movement.
That's very interesting. I'd love to see it in a watch working.
Yes, so actually we have, I will show you here the exploded view, so to have a little bit more of a vision how the watch is built up. Actually the movement is built up. You can see the oscillator, the blue part, is very nicely positioned at the 6 o'clock opening of the heartbeat. And maybe I can bring you over to Roland.
Yeah.
Hi Roland, thank you for being here. So we can actually show the part, the actual part, so you can really see how very, very tiny it is actually, and how beautiful and shiny. And you can see already the small weights are mounted on this oscillator. So maybe we can show also the watch. Here you can see the beautiful watch, and what is also told by Niels is very interesting. I love this feature, is the second hand to proceed 1 full second, it actually beating 80 times. So it's really, really smooth.
Looks like a very beautiful sweeping second hand.
Exactly, exactly.
It looks, technically, I'm completely baffled by how beautiful it works and how the second hand goes so smooth. Niels, could you tell us how this all materializes into the collection? Because I'm very curious. Frédéric Constant is very known for accessible luxury, and with such a high-tech innovation, how does that get into the collection, and what does it do with the pricing?
Sure. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Pim, for this explanation. So here you can see the positioning of a regular mechanical watch, beating on 4 Hertz with a regular assortment. It has been challenged for the past 10 years. You can see here there was a challenge for 10 Hertz, 12 Hertz, and even all the way up to 18 Hertz. Today, we are launching this world premiere because we are launching a 40 Hertz driven monolithic, an oscillator. But more importantly, if you look at all the other concepts or single watch introductions, they are much higher in price position. And because we are launching it in a large scale production in our industrialization and on par with our accessible luxury strategy, we have it below €4,500. Now, let me bring you over the final specifications of the watch. Here you can see the silver dial. The silver dial will come for a price for €4,495 and is limited available in 810 pieces. Exactly the new caliber name Frédéric Constant FC810. We also have the blue version. Beautiful blue, deep blue, with different shades of blue, with the guilloché finishing and the Roman index. And you can see here also the date and the open heart where the oscillator beats 40 Hertz. This piece is also available for €4,495 and available again in 810 pieces. And then we have our top piece, what is a solid gold version, 18 karat. And this one will be available for a price of €14,995 and 81 pieces limited edition. With this, we come to an end of the presentation and very exciting products. I would like to thank this moment Pim and the team of making this happen internal the past 3 years, but also Nima and Flexus by the amazing collaboration. Without each other, we would never do this. And for me, but I think for all of us, this is an amazing milestone for the brand, but certainly also a milestone for the industry.
Thank you, Niels. I totally agree. This is definitely a milestone. In all the past years that I said I've been following the watch industry very closely, I've not seen anything like this, especially because it's small. It almost befits a normal movement with a few minor adaptations, and it comes at a price point that is typically Frédéric Constant. It looks very good. I think it's now time for questions.
Sure.
Can I ask Pim and Nima back to the stage? Let's see what kind of questions are coming in. We have a question here from Mike. That might be a good question for you, Niels. What is the precision of the slimline monolithic?
Yeah, good question. I was also expecting this one. You didn't see it coming back in the presentation because we focused really on the introduction we do as an oscillator, a single oscillator, challenging actually the conventional assortment, the 26 components, and this all into a large scale of production for an accessible price. That's the introduction. But the precision, we have an average precision between -4 and +6.
So that's actually COSC-rated precision chronometer.
Yes, exactly.
That's spectacular. That's good. Thank you. We have a new question coming in from Frans. Do you use a longer and thinner spiral into the barrel to obtain 80 hours of power reserve? I think that could be a good question for you, Pim.
So actually the answer is no. We did not change the mainspring. Mm-hmm. Actually, it's the exact same mainspring as in our other manufacturing movements, which give us an average of 38 hours of power reserve. But it's about the efficiency of our oscillator. So it's much more efficient, and that's why the same power source can give this 80 hours of power reserve.
Thank you. Another question. Paola, can you explain more about the company Flexus? Is it an independent or with a big group behind? Is Flexus only working in the watchmaking industry? Well, there's only one person to answer that, Nima.
Yes. We are an independent horology technology company, meaning that we are not tied to any brand or any group, fully independent. And of course, the potential is very broad, but today we are laser focused in watches.
Thank you. Let's go to the next question. Fernando asked this question regarding shockproof and shock absorbers. How about the shockproofness of the oscillator?
Yeah, of course we did many tests, shock tests, drop tests even. But the thing about this beautiful material, actually, the silicium part, it's actually bending. It's very flexible. And that's why even with big shocks, it will bend, but it will bend back and it will go to his initial form right away. So it's very, very shockproof.
Cool, that should be a reassuring thought. Next question, and also the last question for now, because we're coming to the end of the presentation, is a question from Marie. Why did you choose to have such a classical watch design and with such an innovative concept? Niels?
Yeah, it's a good question. We don't make concepts, we don't make lab watches, we make watches commercially to sell them. That's the whole reason of our accessible luxury. We expect to produce 1,700 units this year, and we still want to sell the watch. And we are good in a classical looking watch. So that's why we choose to do that, but there's a more important step also. We are a young watch brand. We have been doing a lot of innovations. For us, it's very important, if you do a strong innovation, that the product, the visualization of the product is recognizable and is in the DNA. And typically the open heart with the guilloche finishing and the Roman index, it's classical, but it's very recognizable for people. But more to come in the future.
I'm curious.
Thank you.
Thank you all for explaining this technology. For me, it's something that I've never seen in the past 20 years, and I can't recall of any such breakthrough innovation in a long time, actually. I'm very curious to see what comes more. As Niels already indicated, you can ask your questions in the box below, and they will be answered in the coming week. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.